Welcome to the Daily Slop. And these are the news, most anticipated movies of 2024. Uh, January. El Mioto. Originally, Sony's Madame Web was going to be the studio's first spider-adjacent film to hit theaters in 2024, but now it's going to be El Mioto. Starring pop star turned actor Bad Bunny as one of Spidey's most obscure allies. This film reportedly has not gone into production yet, so it remains to be seen if it will hold the January release date. Madame Web. Sony's Spider-Man franchise without Spider-Man has had highs, Venoms, and lows, Morbius. But Madame Web, which stars Dakota Johnson as the clairvoyant Spidey side character, might be worth sticking around for, even if Peter Parker himself never shows up. Sydney Sweeney. Okay, I don't care about actors. It's a Pixar film coming in March. Elio. Pixar's 28th feature film following 2023's Elemental will focus on an 11-year-old boy named Elio who is inadvertently beamed up into space and is mistaken to be an ambassador for Earth on another planet. It will be the directorial debut for Adrian Molina, who previously worked on Pixar films like Coco, Toy Story 4, and Luca. The Fall Guy. Is there a better action director than David Leitch these days? Leitch, a former stuntman who previously helmed John Wick, The Atomic Blonde, Deadpool 2, and Hobbs & Shaw, is tackling a film adaptation of an 80s TV show about a stuntman who moonlights as a bounty hunter. Sounds right up his alley. Ryan Gosling will play the lead alongside Emily Blunt. Kung Fu Panda 4. DreamWorks Animation's Kung Fu Panda series is quietly incredible, taking what could have been a silly premise, Jack Black voices a fat panda who does martial arts, and turns it into something funny, heartfelt, and full of impressive fight scenes. At CinemaCon 2023, we learned that Mike Mitchell, who made Trolls and the Lego Movie the second part, would be directing the film, and that the story would follow Po as he faces off against a chameleon Po and searches for a new dragon warrior. A Quiet Place. Day 1. With the thrilling exception of this second movie's opening scene, the action in the Quiet Place franchise has taken place after the super deadly aliens have already invaded and destroyed society as we know it. As the title here implies, the third film in the series will show the first days of an alien attack well before anybody knows what's going on or what to expect from these monsters. And it will be directed by Michael Sarnowski, which gave us one of Nicolas Cage's best performance ever in 2021's Pig. While most of the cast announced so far are new, we will see the return of Digimon Hansu's character from Part 3. Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. The two greatest kaiju of all time are back for round 2 in the follow-up to the MonsterVerse 2021 showdown. However, the synopsis suggests that they might be allies from the start rather than enemies this time around, as Godzilla and Kong will face a colossal undiscovered threat rooted in our world. Dan Stevens has been cast as the lead of the film alongside returning GBK actors Rebecca Hall, Brian Tyree Henry, and Kaylee Huddle. Adam Wingard, who directed the previous film, will be behind the camera for this one too. Snow White, a live-action adaptation of Snow White. Although critics hasn't been kind to most of Disney's live-action remakes of the classic animated films, they've been a hit with moviegoers at the box office, which might explain why Snow White is getting the same treatments some 87 years after the original 1937 cartoon came out. West Side Story's Rachel Zegler stars as Snow White, with Wonder Woman's Gal Gadot playing the evil queen. Untitled Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel. We don't have a lot of confirmed details about the sequel, except that the director, Jason Reitman, has been replaced by Gail Kinnan, who co-wrote Afterlife. We also know that stars Carrie Coon, McKenna Grace, Finn Wolfhard, and Paul Rudd are returning, twinned by names like Kumail Nanjiani and Patton Oswalt. And lastly, we also know that the film setting will indeed be New York and the firehouse from the original films, which was teased at the end of Afterlife. Mickey 17. South Korean director Bong Joon-ho follows up his Academy Award-winning film Parasite with this adaptation of the sci-fi novel Mickey's Heaven by Edward Ashton. Robert Pattinson stars as a disposable employee, one whose body is regenerated with previous memories intact every time he dies, on a mission to colonize a distant world. The Lord of the Rings: The War of Rohirrim. Warner Bros.' latest film in the Lord of the Rings universe is this animated sequel that follows the exploits of Helm Hammerhand, the legendary king of Rohan, home of the horseman known as Rohirrim, that played a big part in The Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers. Brian Cox will lend his voice to the central character who reigned 183 years before the events of The Two Towers, while the latter film's Miranda Otto reprises her role as Eowyn, who will serve as a framing device for the story. Challengers. Zendaya headlines the latest film from Luca Guadagnino, which centers on the relationships between the tennis prodigy turned coach, the struggling former champion who is her husband, and his former best friend, who also happens to be her ex-boyfriend. Love triangle film. Yeah, that's exciting. Deadpool 3. The Merc with the Mouth is back, and so is Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. The first Deadpool movie since Disney bought Fox will certainly be a sight to behold, as the Ryan Reynolds-led franchise is beloved for its R-rated humor. How that will blend with the MCU's decidedly PG-13 tone is a mystery, as how and why Jackman is unsheathing Wolverine's claws after the acclaiming swan song that was Logan. Furiosa. Anna Taylor-Joy will play a younger version of the war-rig-driving badass Imperator for... Yeah, I suck at pronouncing things. Imperator Furiosa in this prequel to Mad Max Fury Road, one of the best films of the century so far. George Miller will naturally direct once more, and Chris Hemsworth will co-star in the movie, which tells the tale of Furiosa's kidnappings and her rise through Immortan Joe's ranks. Garfield. Chris Pratt voicing Garfield. After Chris Pratt voiced Mario, he wept, for there were no more animated characters to conquer. Just kidding, he'll be voicing everybody's favorite lasagna-loving, Monday-hating cat, Garfield, in a new movie adaptation of the long-running comic strip. Samuel L. Jackson will voice Big Garfield's fuck. What? Samuel like the... Okay. If John Krasinski and Ryan Reynolds, both of whom will also star in this film, by the way, developed this fantasy comedy also written by Krasinski about a young girl who learns she has the ability to see imaginary friends. This one sounds good. That's the title. F. Oh, it's IF, not F. That have been abandoned. Reynolds and Krasinski are joined by the massive voice cast. That includes Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Okay, I don't think anyone cares about the actors. Okay, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Caesar, the chimpanzee who led the apes to world domination, died at the end of 2017's War for the Planet of the Apes, the third film of the reboot trilogy of the classic sci-fi franchise. However, there's more monkey business to be had. Wes Ball, who helmed the Maze Runner films, directs them. Okay, I'm just going to stop listing people who work on these movies because we only care about what happens in the movies. Ballerina. The first spin-off film of the John Wick universe starts one of the female assassins trained by the Wurska Roma, the criminal organization headed by and glimpsed in John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum. Details aren't dead so far, but we know it will be another revenge tale, and we know that it will be set specifically between the events of Chapter 3 and Chapter 4, so Keanu Reeves and his Continental cohort will appear. Bad Boys 4. In the third film in the Bad Boys franchise, had gotten a different title, then this fourth installment could have been easily named Bad Boys for Life. Well, that's not how reality works, so for now we'll just call this one Bad Boys 4, which will see detectives Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett reunite for another explosive action adventure. Inside Out 2. The wonderful Pixar film Inside Out showed us what things are like inside of an emotionally young girl's head. How do you raise the stakes for the sequel? Go inside a teenager's head, of course. Inside Out 2 will but revisit Riley now that she's in college and will fittingly introduce a host of new emotions. There are reports that aside from Amy Poehler, not all of the original voice cast, whose ranks include, will return for the sequel. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 2. I guess that's part 2 to that movie. I don't want to read about that. Don't Despicable Me 4. Mufasa the Lion King. They're making a live action movie, Lion King, to go to the backstory of Mufasa, Simba's dad. We don't know anything about it, but it's Venom 3. Twisters. It's a sequel to the original Twister movie about tornadoes and stuff. Captain America, The Brave New World. Uh, who, what? Okay, nothing's on Borderlands. They're making movie based off Borderlands. Untitled Alien movie. The new film from a group. Okay, that a group of young people in a distant world who will find themselves in confrontation with the most terrifying life form in the universe. Okay, Kraven the Hunter, a Spider-Man bad guy. Beetlejuice 2. They're making a sequel to Beetlejuice. We don't know anything about this. Jenna Ortega joins the cast. Okay. Transformers 1. Yeah, basically, we don't know anything about these ones, so I'm just going to say the movies now. Joker 48 Dukes. Other than. Okay. I know Lady Gaga's being Harley Quinn in this movie, which I don't really know about. Gladiator 2. Wicked Part 1. Okay. The Karate Kid. They're making a reboot of Karate Kid. Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which will have Shadow and probably Amy. Wait, will it have Amy? No, it's just we don't know anything. Thunderbolts. What about Thunderbolts? A Thunderbolts movie is in the work. Supervillain movie. So they're like, it looks like they're like evil Avengers or something. Maybe that'd be cool. Beyond the Spider-Verse. Nothing's known about that either. Okay, gone over all the most anticipated movies of 2024. Well, that was crazy, bro. Bye.